Hello, good evening, and welcome to another class on Human Resource Management, Module 4, Part 2. Today, I will be discussing with you two important aspects of Module 4, and one of them is career planning, and the other one is succession planning. And we will try to understand as to what are the features, methods, and uses of career development, as well as succession in management in the Indian context. Okay, now before we go into career planning, let us try to understand as to what is basically career and what is job, because these two words are often found and people interchangingly use it, interchangeably without understanding much of what is the content in it. Now, career is something that you do systematically, you do planning to see that you are achieving a certain level of skill or knowledge and developing an attitude which will enable a person to climb up the corporate ladder. This is called as career. So career, there is always a progression, there is always a planning, there is always an acquiring of skills or competence to see that you are moving up, moving, getting promoted, or you are reaching the goal as far as your organizational work is concerned. Now, when it comes to job, it is basically a routine one where you sit on it, where you sit, sit and work, or maybe work without much of progress as far as your future is concerned. Maybe doing the same process again and again. So always, it is important that as professionals, as professionals, as managers, it is important that you should always be talking about career, because then only there will be certain growth as far as your profession is concerned, professional plans are concerned. All right. Now let us look at what is career planning now. Now, career planning is a process of systematically matching career goals and individual capabilities with opportunities for their fulfillment. So there is a plan, that plan is being arranged systematically, and you are matching based on your career goals. You may acquire certain capabilities, certain skills, looking for an opportunity, and based on the opportunity you fulfill your ambitions also, which is called as career planning. Now, career planning is the process of enhancing an employee's future value. That means, that there is an objective, there is an objective, that is to have a future value as far as your career is concerned. Career planning encourages individuals to explore, gather information, which makes them to synthesize, gain competencies, make decisions, set goals, and take action. So it encourages an individual to identify what are the opportunities available, gather that information, then you will try to identify which goal, which is the way route in which I have to work, and gain competencies, skills, knowledge, all those things, and make a decision. Goals are aligned, and based on the goals that you start working towards and implementing that in your life, and definitely you get promoted or you reach higher levels in the corporate. It is very important. Career planning is very important because it will help an individual to explore and choose or strive to derive satisfaction as far as his career is concerned. Now, so that's the reason why career planning is very, very important for every individual. They need to plan as to how they are going to work on their careers. Now, in HRM also, it is very one of the most important functions that an HR department has to offer for its employees. Career development and succession planning are important because if this is basically the pool through which you get the best potential employees for higher levels. So career planning is and succession planning are very, very essential for any organization. An organization without a career planning and career development initiatives is likely to encounter the highest rate of attrition, because employees may feel that there is no growth in their there is no growth in that organization, and this can definitely harm the organization strategic plans. So career planning is important. Career planning should be done effectively, and it is defined as a succession of related jobs arranged in a hierarchical order through which a person moves in an organization. Okay, now let us look at the objectives of career planning. Now, career planning seeks to achieve the following objectives. It attracts and retains the right persons in the organization. So it offers an opportunity for people to be attracted to the organization. Similarly, it will enable the employee to be retained in that organization because the employee finds that there is a future in that organization and does not take the step of leaving that organization. It maps out careers of employees suitable to their ability and their willingness to be trained and developed for higher positions, especially in the context of executive development. The advantage with career planning is that it will identify a route for the employee. So based on that, the employees will get trained, they will develop their ability, they will develop their competence and the attitude also, so that they are qualified for higher positions. It ensures better use of human resource through more satisfied and productive employees. So, see, based on the ability and competence that a person has, like if you give a proper career plan, the employee will be a satisfied and a productive employee. It ensures more stable workforce by reducing labor turnover and absenteeism. It utilizes the managerial talent available at all levels in the organization. Any level can have this career plan, and it integrates the individual and organizational objectives also. So you will find that career plan is very very important to have a stable workforce, a qualified workforce, a competent workforce in any organization. Okay. It improves employee morale and motivation. So personally, the employee will feel that they have the motivation to work because they are looking at levels of promotion, higher, better opportunities. It ensures that promising persons get experience that will equip them to reach responsibility for which they are capable. So if you are a good employee, yes, you have an opportunity to grow with the organization. It provides guidance and encouragement to employees to fulfill their potential. So those people who have potential, it gives an opportunity to fulfill their potential. It helps in achieving higher productivity and organizational development because if you are a competent individual, you are trained and made competent to see that you are producing results, and this will contribute to organizational development. It provides guidance and encouragement to employees, and it reduces employee dissatisfaction and even discipline. In discipline, issues also can be reduced. It can create actually a motivation. It can create actually leaders within the organization. It can create satisfaction, and morale also can improve if you have a proper career plan for your employees. Now let us look at what are the uses of career planning. Now, career planning ensures a constant supply of promotable employees. So, if you plan a career for your employees, then people will start competing, and then you will have a constant supply of promotable employees for the organization. It helps in improving the loyalty of employees. When there is a career plan in place, organization employees do not want to leave the organization. As a result, it will contribute to loyalty. It promotes career planning and encourages growth and development also. Through career planning, the employee will start growing because he becomes competent, and this growth will also lead to development also. It ensures that senior management knows about the caliber and capacity of employees who can move upwards. Now, when you conduct actually a career plan, and if there are people, then there will be continuous assessments will be there. As a result, senior management will always be in will know, or they will be in touch of what is happening as far as the managerial candidates are concerned. So this again is an advantage for career planning as well as for succession planning. It attracts competent, capable, skill-trained candidate towards the company and retains them in the organization. Or in other words, it creates actually a brand. The organization is perceived as a brand, which offers training and offers the right position for competent and capable people, and also opportunity to retain with that organization also. It increases motivation also among the employees. Okay, so other than that, let us look at other things also. Like for example, it can always create a team of employees. So there is always a reservoir of employees, or a pool of employees being ready to for any contingency. Especially, something happens in the organization where senior managers have resigned. There is always an opportunity for promoting actually uh, these people who are in the in the next level. Then again, career planning reduces labor turnover and attrition. Every organization has to prepare for a succession planning, and career planning is the first step towards this. It corrects employee placement if there is any error, because when you conduct an assessment, you will know as to what is wrong as far as the placement is concerned. And so, career planning can rectify those things, and it optimizes utilization of managerial talent within an organization. Now, what are the features of career planning? Now, career planning is not just a one-time affair. It is actually a long process, and it follows basically something called as a bottom-up approach. Now, what is the importance? What is the difference between top-down approach and bottom-up approach? Top-down approach is always initiated by the corporate, whereas bottom-up approach is always initiated by the employee. So I would say that career planning starts with individuals, and the individual starts working, and at the same time organizational interventions are also there, and this is a process which takes place continuously. As a result, you would find that together the employee as well as the organization wins, or it is a win-win situation. As I've already told you, career planning is not a one-time affair. It is an ongoing process. The employee starts acquiring skills based on the needs that he has identified, and the organization starts giving him opportunities also. So that is the reason why career planning aims at matching the individual career goals with the opportunities available. Career planning is a means of achieving employee progression and organizational efficiency, and not an end in itself. So when you do this, you will find that employee progression is happening, organizational efficiency is increased. As a result, it is not just limited to career planning. There are other benefits also, especially the organization productivity will be on higher side. So career planning is a collective responsibility of both the individual employee as well as the organization also. Then, uh, what are the methods of career planning? Especially, this time I would be talking about individual. What should the individual do, and then we will go to what the organization should do. Now, methods of CP. One is like performance. Now, career planning depends on the progress of the employee. If the employee is not ready to contribute his might, his efforts towards achieving the objectives of the company, I think that is a time that career planning will stop. So one side you would find that individual has to contribute from his side. Second one, you would find that career planning gives exposure also, because when people start or employees start identifying what are the opportunities that are there for their career development, they start looking at identifying the skills to get skills and competence, so that they can get promotions, transfers, and other career opportunities. Career planning is also offers should have networking, because they should be able to people the employee should be able to contact actually professional networking with their alumni or maybe associations to get exposure, to find out as to what skills are required or what competence is required for higher level of jobs. And leveraging also, maybe sometimes there are cases where people may resign, to understand to resign and learn, go for a management program or get trained in certain skills and come back. So career planning is also a leveraging also, maybe resigning to understand what their skills and abilities and how they could be able to utilize it for themselves as well as for the organization also. Other things, in career planning, you require actually a mentor, a good mentor or a sponsor who should be able to give you the right direction as far as the career is concerned. Similarly, in career planning right now, it's an era of technology. So there are a lot of other areas are also change. The workplace itself is changing. There are more areas to be learned. So employees who are interested in career development should definitely start learning about or expand their ability by maybe through acquiring degree or updating skills in certain areas of their choice. It is also a realistic assessment. So realistic assessment is essential to understand whether those particular skills and competence have got a long future or not. And earlier we have said, it is a continuous process, not one time, and primary responsibility lies with the individual itself. Now, as far as organizations are concerned, organization career planning starts, when the employee starts demonstrating that he is a potential candidate to be promoted or to be given a career planning. There starts the organization's role also. Now, organization, what it has to do is, if it wants to retain its best and brightest workers to improve on its productivity, it should always have a career plan in place. And they should start actually plan, they should have start giving them succession, like, plan the succession of different jobs should be given for this employee to progress. And career planning starts with the person's job placement, initial orientation, and then offering challenging opportunities for the employees to work on their competence, and information also to be given to make the employee aware, as to what type of skill that is required and what opportunities are available in that organization. Mentoring and coaching is also important. If the organization can offer mentoring and coaching facilities, excellent. That will definitely help the employee to develop his skills and be in the right direction also. Organization can also offer training and development linked to this career development. Job rotation, where you move an employee from one department or section or jobs to see that they learn different jobs and find out as to which is the best place that he could work. And also allowing sabbatical. Sabbatical is basically giving a leave with pay or with funding, so that employees can learn new skills or knowledge or do certain courses also to improve. Now, what are the suggestions, for an effective career development? One, it should be motivational. For example, enabling the employee to challenge the job assignment and asking for bigger, bigger or higher level of difficulty. Higher level of jobs, which have higher level of difficulty. So challenging is initial job assignments is one of them. Dissemination of career option information. Now, many employees may not know what are the career choices available at the organization. So, this is where the HR managers or the career planning department should be able to offer. Yes, what are the opportunities available, and what are the career paths, and what are the skills that you should be able, they should have in order to be, in order to progress in your career. So this information should be disseminated across to the employees. Third one is, like, it is job positioning. Management should uh, give them opportunity, especially in IT sector. You would find that there are internal selection process or internal recruitments happening. So this can be inside using your dashboards, or maybe through billboards, and maybe through even advertisements also within the organization. And sometimes you would find outside the organization also happens, and like, people may try to look for those opportunities also. Then there can be assessment centers also. Management can give people opportunities to assess their skills and competence, through which they will be able to develop on their skills. Career counseling is another method that you could suggest, especially in career planning. So career planning is a very, very important factor in organization. It has to start with the individuals, and definitely the organization has got a wider role, because it is not just an end to itself. It produces actually better productivity for the organization. At the same time, it creates actually a pool or a reservoir of employees who are willing to be promoted. And the career planning is also associated with succession planning. Now, what a succession planning is, through the career planning, you're developing employees who can take the reins of the organization in either on a gradual note, or maybe sometimes in case of emergency also. So, what is succession planning? Succession planning is an ongoing process that identifies necessary competencies, then works to assess, develop, and retain a talent pool of employees in order to ensure continuity of leadership for all critical positions. So, here the difference between career planning and succession planning is that in succession planning, we develop people for leadership, higher levels of leadership. Whereas in career planning, it may be, it is also in the same route, but it may be a step by step. But here also it's step by step, but still you are actually choosing certain people to take the reins of the organization in top post. Succession planning is a specific strategy because the organization would identify the people, and they just customize a plan on how, what sort of training, or what sort of development has to happen, and then starts working on steps to see that this plan is being implemented by the person, mentor, counsel him, and to see that there is this plan, the person is being developed into a different, or maybe a competent leader to take the reins of the organization. All right, what are the reasons for succession planning? Some of the reasons of succession planning I'm giving you elaborately. One of them is superannuation. Superannuation is basically retirement. So at the time of retirement, there should be certain people to there should be young people to take up the reins of the organization. So superannuation is one of them. Resignation. There are situations where the top leaders may resign. So there should always be few people in place to take up actually the leadership roles also. Another one is promotion. Whenever that's actually part of actually career planning also, where like employees moving upward the hierarchy of the organization, there also you require actually succession planning. Diversification. Sometimes organization goes into another field, or into another domain, or maybe into another range of products. During that time we require success people who are competent, so succession planning is important for that. Creation of new positions. Sometimes organizations may start creating new positions based on the organization structure. They may change the organization, so there also you may require succession planning. So these are all reasons. Other reasons that you would find can be sudden maybe unfortunate happenings in the organization. Maybe the death of a senior executive leaves actually void, so there should always be a person to take on the that leadership role, and for that also we require succession planning. Now, what are the advantages of succession planning? Succession planning provides managers and supervisors a step-by-step methodology to utilize their workforce planning. It is proactive. That means both the individual as well as the organization has to work with each other, assess, evaluate, and develop a pool of individuals. It is a tool to meet the necessary staffing needs of an organization, of a department, like career planning. And however, it will also try to identify what are the skill gaps that the employee has, and starts filling up those skill gaps, so that the employee becomes competent. Now, let us look at what are the succession planning which is happening in India. Some of the succession planning which has happened in India. One was actually Dabur. Dabur Group, founded by Dr. S.K. Berman in 1985. 1884 is now a multi-billion dollar business, where even though the family had the reins of or control, they did not want to take a position to the organization as usual, which happens in Indian family-based organizations. They actually, the board of trustees appointed a CEO from outside, a person who would take up the reins of the company. And since then, there was no conflict. It was doing well, and Dabur still is a growth-oriented company. Another company which has done well is basically the Ranbaxy Group also. Both the brother, the chairman, Dr. Parminder Singh, had his children. Like they were taught in the best institutions, and they were trained in the hands of the professionals, and were working in different companies. And finally, there was a smooth succession plan, or a smooth transition which happened in Ranbaxy. RPG Enterprises also was another one, where like Group Chairman R.P. Goenka also did a wonderful succession planning, and it was actually the companies were being like the succession planning was beautifully done with Harsh Goenka and Sanjeev Goenka, and becoming of the chairman and the vice chairman of the company. And both the companies had been continue to control and run the companies successfully. Whereas there are certain cases of succession planning which has failed also. Dhirubhai Ambani's Reliance Group was one of them. Even though it was a beautiful company with almost presence in almost all the company in all the domains in the industry, Dhirubhai Ambani was not able to. Even though he had sent his children to the best education. Later, there was a conflict between the brothers, and it wiped out a lot of money from the stock market. People lost their money, The conflict was too big, and finally there were some people who had to interfere and settle that case. And you know very well now, right now, Anil Ambani has not been able to do it well, and as a result, he is still reeling under debt according to the government, or between the agencies also. However, I think Mukesh Ambani has been able to create a good succession plan. He is implementing a good succession plan through his children, and hopefully, I think whatever mistakes Dhirubhai Ambani had created may not happen with Mukesh Ambani. There are other cases also of succession planning which has failed, and the important one, the most one of the important one was basically the Tata Group also, where you all know that Ratan Tata had mentored Cyrus Mistry to take over the reins of the conglomerate, the salt to softer conglomerate. But after some time, there was a bitter fight, or maybe you all know, would have read, that Cyrus Mistry was ousted from the board of Tata Sons, and there was a prolonged case which happened, and finally the case was in fact favorable to Cyrus Mistry. However, he did not join with them. So there are also bitter cases, of succession planning which has not worked, even though uh, there was not much uh, impact on Tata except for some of the divisions. I would say that it was not something which was called for, because Tata, being a company with a unique culture, should not have this the sort of things which has happened in the company was unfortunate. So anyway, thank you very much for being with me to understand on career planning and succession planning. And I hope you've understood the concept. Go through the slides, and definitely, if you got any clarifications, you can always come back to me. So thank you very much for being with me on this on human resource management, on career planning and succession planning. Goodbye. Thank you.